Hey guys, welcome to a new market update video. It's now the weekend before the election, so it's Sunday. I have no idea what's gonna happen at the election or right after it. To start off, my base case will be that the initial candle up or down, depending on who wins, will be like, I don't know, like 10% on BTC maybe in the first few days. Depending on who wins, of course, with Trump being more favorable for the short term price action. I will say that even if Kamala wins, I do think we'll get some dips just because we just have to play like the 10 IQ side of things. So Kamala down, Trump up. I think that's gonna make some sense. But I do think in 2025 we're gonna go up regardless. So let's say we do dip quite hard on a Kamala win, then I do think some of those dips could offer some good opportunities. But also don't start to knife catch the single day the election results are out because it might take some time for people to unwind certain positions which they took on as a Trump trade, for example. I do think we potentially see some ETF outflows when that happens because a lot of those inflows in the past few weeks were based on the Trump trade or like as a hedge against people's portfolios just to get some liquid exposure to Trump. I also think certain alts that might have been bought in anticipation of a Trump win might get hit pretty hard as well. Um, but I mean, in the end, I do think we would stabilize somewhere by the end of the month and then probably find some bottom, maybe start ramping up again into the end of the year. And seeing both administrations are gonna end up printing money regardless. And I do think the Federal Reserve will still continue to cut here and there. I do think the market should be favorable in 2025 regardless. So depending on who wins, yes, I do think the eventual high, like the all-time high, will be higher on the Trump win just because he will likely print more money, have a bigger deficit, so liquidity goes higher, and I think the regulations will also be more favorable. So I do think in the end, the long run, it does make sense, or it does make a difference in the eventual price targets. But regarding if we go up or down in 2025, I don't think it makes much sense or much difference. So let's see. We got the CME close price now at like 69-ish K. So good chance by the time you'll see this on Monday, we'll have retraced back there, as that's what we usually do. But seeing we're so close to the elections, I'm really not gonna post many charts next week at all. Not before, not right after, because it's just gonna be super choppy and super volatile. I generally think we will be at like all-time highs or at like 60K next week, depending on who wins. So, with that being said, be careful with leverage, be careful with your stop losses. I'm personally still fully into spot. I'm not gonna touch those depending on who wins or anything. I might buy some more if Kamala does win and we do get a decent dip. I do think that would be a decent opportunity depending on how low we go, how it looks, etc. Because it's not that much of an issue as some people indicate it to be. I think we'll be just fine in the long run, as I just explained. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be an exciting week for sure. I do also think because it's like pretty much a coin toss, whoever wins. So it might take like a few days, even if the results are contested, and yeah, I mean, it might take some days for the election to be like properly over in that case, which will of course cause even more uncertainty, more chop, etc. But just looking at the chart, we did came just short of the all-time high here last week. We didn't quite sweep it. This weekly candle is looking quite awful, but I don't think it really matters how this candle looks like. As like I said, next candle we're probably either gonna go up like 10% or down 10%. So it really doesn't matter how this thing looks. As I think on the Trump win we'll get to all-time high pretty quickly, and on Kamala we probably retest like 60-ish K, something like that. So I really don't mind the way this candle looks with the election coming up, as that will have much more impact than just how a candle looks. Then up here, just going back to this, I don't think this is too crazy. I might revisit my target down a bit. This is just an estimate. Like, don't mark me down on this. But I do think roughly we'll get something like this occur. So let's say Camelo wins, we might dip here, we bottom out for a bit, and then we start this grind up anyways. But this is roughly my roadmap for the year to come, and I hope 2025 is going to be just like those other post halving years, like 2021, 2017, as that's something Bitcoin really likes to do. And we know liquidity is going to go up. The one thing that I do think might be causing a top near the end of the year would be a reignite of inflation, as I think, especially under Trump, we might see inflation reignite. But I think under both administration, that's a legit concern, but nothing for the short term. But like a year out, I wouldn't be surprised if higher inflation and the Fed having to pivot again will mark our top. But that's really not a concern for right now. Total 2, not much happening here, just grinding along. Like, let's say Kamala wins, for example, and you see a dip back to this daily 200 MA. I think this would be a really nice place, looking at risk reward, to potentially start allocating into some alts again, or like add-on exposure. ETH, really, really boring chart here. Yeah, I mean, not gonna get too excited until this breaks 2.8k. I think when it does, we're gonna fly. Let's say we do test it back down all the way here. I would be willing to buy this. Ideally, it just sweeps everything then. I don't think this is gonna happen on a Trump win at all. Like, this scenario doesn't make much sense. Maybe if we sell off post elections. Bitcoin dominance just been up and up and up. I don't think this is gonna change until we either find the bottom post elections if we go down. I do think there's a good chance this spikes down heavily on a Trump win, because I think people are going to be more willing to ape into alts, just because I think regulations are going to be more favorable. Things like, I'm not saying these are going to outperform, but just the risk reward on things like Uniswap and Lido, who both have SEC cases going against them, US based. All these DeFi protocols might be able to enable their fee switches, etc., which makes them much more interesting for investors. And I wouldn't be surprised if on the Trump win we see everything pump and then a lot of alts just outperform on the initial candle up. Even though Bitcoin might break all-time high, I just think it's going to get really crazy really fast, and you're probably going to see a lot of people open up with a lot of leverage, which will likely cause these kind of movements. So let's say we go up, he wins, and you're probably going to get like a lot of these wicks in between, and then probably chop around for a bit, and then maybe from there on out go higher. It's going to get... We're probably going to keep grinding up, but there's going to be a lot of flushes along the way, as people are just going to go crazy on leverage. So it's going to be volatile either way. Moving on, Solana looks pretty nice here, I gotta say. Like, if elections weren't here, I would be bidding this. I do own some Solana, not much at this point, but I mean, if we were to still trade here somewhere post-elections after we have more certainty, I really doubt it, because we're either going to be much higher or lower, I think. But this is a nice spot. Let's say we do head down to like 280 EMA and EMA. This will be a decent area for me as well to potentially get some extra exposure. Dogecoin has come down to test its previous high. Decent level here, as long as it holds 0.144. But like I said, I mean, I'm really not going to get into the short-term gist of things, because next week we're probably either going to be trading here or here, I'm assuming. So that's why I would not recommend trading, especially shorter term. If you really want to scale in or whatever and you're uncertain, at least DCA in, use spot. Don't have like insanely tight stop losses in place or anything. Just be careful, because it's gonna get crazy, I think. Uniswap, like I just said, this would be like, the chart isn't looking great right now, that's for sure. But let's say there's a Trump win, for example. I think this will trade back up to like this 8 to 9-ish area. And at that point, I would be pretty confident in a move back to these local highs. I think this would be one of the bigger coins that would benefit more from a win than others might be. But having said that, I'm pretty sure if Bitcoin breaks all-time highs, you're probably just going to see the meme coins go the hardest again, like they usually do. But of course, everything is on a risk-reward basis, so those things are going to get volatile regardless. Aave, same thing. Looks pretty awful here, although it's still like trading above this 3-year range. Just hasn't been able to like properly go into, I'll just call price discovery for this cycle. Has been rejecting around this level every time. Maybe a dip down to like 113, 123-ish. In between here would be decent, but not like on the top of my list. I do hold some, but nothing crazy. I don't hold this either. I think the chart looks awful, but I just wanted to highlight Bitcoin Cash because usually when Bitcoin breaks its all-time high or it really goes hard into price discovery, this is one of the coins that follows the most. Don't ask me why. It's just how it does. Like it's one of the Bitcoin beta coins, I'd say. So, I mean, want to keep an eye on. I'm not interested here at all. But let's say Bitcoin goes all-time high, and at some point here you get a leg up. It starts consolidating. It might not be the worst one to keep your eye on and potentially take a bet on at that time. But for now, not touching this at all. Neither am I touching anything anywhere, to be honest. Ton has been super weak recently. Like it was very hyped up here. I thought it was going to break higher, but it just kept rejecting, and now we're back at this range low. Which, I mean, it's a strong support, but of course, same as everything, I'll keep repeating this, with elections coming up, it could cause like a nasty breakdown at that point. Let's say you trade down back to 4, it's gonna get a bit ugly. Best case scenario there will be to consolidate down here and eventually retake this range, and then I'd be interested in buying back here. But for now, I mean, it's support, it's just not that I want to allocate right now, right before the election. But a good level to watch. And then we have Clearpool, which has just been trending along. I'm just highlighting this as we've been following this since this big correction in August. As long as it trades above this 15 cents area, I'm pretty bullish on it. I mean, still, like, it's very volatile, definitely, but it keeps trending up. Just you get like these 30% moves up, then like 20, 25-ish down, or higher up, and then there's just a lot of volatility. But eventually, let's say this does keep continuing up in this kind of manner, eventually you get some kind of god candle, kind of similar to here. I mean, it basically did the same kind of price action here. And at some point, all the all the stop losses or whatever, if people got it in margin, for example, they'll just get triggered, and people give up or just fully commit on the new price discovery. So definitely, yeah, I mean, I'm holding it, just not actively trading this at all. So with that said, I think we've kind of gone through everything. Like I said, I'm not going to get too much into the details. I have no idea what's going to happen. It's a coin toss who's going to win. Probably going to come down to like a few swing states, as it usually does. So it's essentially like 10,000 people that could really determine the entire election. Yeah, I mean, just all I can say is don't try to trade it. I'm probably not even gonna stay up because it's gonna be midnight for me, and I don't think it's gonna be very clear who wins initially. So it might take like a day or two at least. So I'm just gonna go to bed. I'll wake up. I'll see who have won, where my coins are at. Likely also not gonna trade anything in the first week at all, because also the 5th we have the elections, and that's on Tuesday, and then the 7th we have FOMC. Now I don't think FOMC is going to make much sense or much difference, seeing that we would be right past the election hopefully, or right in the middle of it still. So it's pretty much a non-event, but nonetheless it's still something people are going to watch, and it's going to cause volatility, especially if liquidity is already pretty thin or there's like moves all over the place. So probably best off just to, well, not log off, but just chill, don't touch your portfolio, and then watch back next week and see where we stand, and then make a decision based on that. Like I said, personally, I'm not touching my long-term spot holdings. I try to stay away from doing that as much as I can during a cycle. So for me, it's just waiting and enjoying the show. As I mean, in the end, it's quite entertaining. Whatever happens, it's too bad that it does determine our market this much at this point. But let's see. Let's hope in the end, 2025 is going to be favorable regardless, which I do think. Just gonna potentially have to get through some short-term pain. Um, and if Trump wins and we do go crazy, I would still be careful on leverage because, like I said, I think people are gonna go crazy. You probably go like up only for a week or two, but there's gonna be some massive like 10% flushes in between because things are just gonna get insane. People are gonna go full long, and yeah, I mean it's gonna get really volatile. So keep that in mind. Be careful. I'll probably see you all next week. And I wish you all best of luck this week. It's going to be a big week. So take care. Bye bye.